The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning to you here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher.
This morning, we are learning more about the young Selma police officer shot and killed Tuesday in an ambush-style attack. The Fresno County Sheriff's Office identifies him as 24-year-old Gonzalo Carrasco Jr. He had been with the department for 2 years and was expecting his first child with his girlfriend. Authorities say Carrasco was out patrolling the area when he was flagged down by a homeowner reporting a suspicious person in the area. Carrasco got out of his vehicle and was shot multiple times by 23-year-old Nathaniel Dixon, according to police. Dixon took off but was taken into custody a short time later, police say. This is not Dixon's first brush with the law. In fact, he is a career criminal who was on probation at the time of the killing, according to court records. Medeiros Babb, with our sister station in Fresno, has more.
Court documents sharing the lengthy criminal past of 23-year-old Nathaniel Dixon of Selma. Documents state in 2019, Dixon was convicted of second-degree felony robbery. He stayed in the jail until July 2020 and then was released on probation. The Fresno County Sheriff's Office says a month after his release, Dixon was rearrested for carrying a loaded gun and possession of drugs. The Sheriff's Office says the drug charge qualified for $0 bail, meaning he only had to put up $10,000 on the other charge to walk out. On the 19th of August 2020, Dixon arrested again, this time for several felonies. The court documents showed Dixon was charged with 5 felonies in total and 1 misdemeanor. According to the complaint, those charges include possession of meth, being a felon with a firearm, and resisting a police officer. Dixon stayed in the jail until April 2022, almost 2 years. Then the sheriff's office says he was transferred to the state prison. Because of credits for time served in Assembly Bill 109, Dixon was released on probation. Legal analyst David Mugridge says AB 109 was passed because of prison overcrowding.
Where we have started releasing large numbers of inmates, and it'll continue to occur unless and until that legislation is reversed. And I know there's some ongoing discussions right now about maybe we've gone too far too fast, and they may decide to rescind the provisions of 109.
Once Dixon was released, he was put on probation. The sheriff's office says in November 2022, he was rearrested and spent 2 more weeks in the jail. He was released, and then on January 31st, 2023, he was rearrested, this time for murder and a number of other charges for the death of Selma police officer 24-year-old Gonzalo Carrasco Jr. Mugridge says this time some of the charges qualify for special circumstances, meaning the district attorney will likely ask for life in prison or the death penalty.
Even if the district attorney decides to go for the death penalty, we are now in a state where the governor of the state of California, Governor Newsom, in his wisdom, has decided, I don't care how many death verdicts you get, I'm not going to allow you to execute people.
That was Medeiros Babb reporting. Well, in the span of just 1 month, there were more than 50 mass shootings in the United States, including 6 across California. Yesterday, Governor Gavin Newsom announced his support for new legislation that would change the process to apply for and obtain a concealed carry weapons permit in our state. That legislation would require people who apply for a permit to be at least 21 years old and have previous firearms training. It would also require applicants to provide character references and go through a background check. The author of the bill, State Senator Anthony Portantino, says his goal is to make Californians safer when they leave their homes. Making news around the nation, we are learning more about President Biden's first one-on-one meeting with Bakersfield Congressman and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. The debt ceiling was on the day's agenda. Their meeting came just hours after the FBI conducted another search for classified documents. NBC's Bree Jackson is in Washington.
Negotiations over avoiding a potentially catastrophic default on U.S. debt continue after what's being described as a good first meeting between President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
We both laid out some of our vision of where we'd want to get to.
Republicans demanding spending cuts in exchange for raising the debt ceiling, but are not providing specifics.
Do the Republicans have a plan? And what is that plan?
Speaker McCarthy expressing optimism an agreement can be reached before June 5th. That's when the Treasury Department says its efforts to keep paying the federal government's bills exhaust. But the top House Republican faces opposition within his own party.
Kevin McCarthy doesn't have 218 votes to put an actual deal and proposal forward for spending cuts.
One thing GOP members are uniting around, launching investigations into President Biden and the classified documents found at his former D.C. office and Delaware home.
Someone leaked this out. We would never have heard it from this White House. They would have covered it up forever.
Administration officials revealing no classified documents were found during Wednesday's planned FBI search at Mr. Biden's Rehoboth Beach house.
We have cooperated fully. The president's personal attorneys have provided information to DOJ. We've addressed openly and directly the searches that were conducted.
President Biden ignoring questions about the matter as he prepares to address his challenges and triumphs at next week's State of the Union. And President Biden delivers his second State of the Union address on Tuesday. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
In other national news this morning, Omaha police have identified a man killed after firing shots inside a Target in Omaha. Police say 32-year-old Joseph Jones had an AR-15 style rifle and 13 loaded rifle magazines when he walked into the store and started shooting. Jones was shot and killed by police. No one else was hurt. Jones had purchased the gun just 4 days prior to the shooting.
In your 17 court watch, the two men accused of killing a corrections counselor outside the Target on Stockdale Highway were back in court yesterday, and a judge has ruled their cases will now be heard together going forward. Robert Roberts is accused of shooting Benny Alcala Jr. in the parking lot the night of August 24th. He was arrested just days later. Meanwhile, Sebastian Parra, who was a key witness who testified at a preliminary hearing for another suspect in this case, was arrested in December. Superior Court Judge Elizabeth Rodriguez granted a motion consolidating the cases, and they'll be back in court next week.
In other court news this morning, a woman accused of embezzling tens of thousands of dollars from Target that she worked at pleaded no contest and was sentenced to a year of probation. Becky Fernandez says she received an urgent phone call while working at the Target on Stockdale Highway back in 2020 and removed the money from the safe. She said she feared her boss could have lost her job if she didn't take action immediately. Fernandez told police she then delivered the money to an unknown man in a van near Buena Vista Road. She says it wasn't until she returned to work that she realized she may have made a poor decision. Fernandez's lawyer believes she was deceived by a sophisticated scam artist. Fernandez has been ordered to make about $34 in restitution.
Making news around the nation last night, thousands gathered in a Memphis church to say a final farewell to Tyree Nichols. The 29-year-old died last month, 3 days after a group of Memphis police officers beat him during a traffic stop. While people across the country were shocked and angered by how Nichols died, his family and friends celebrated how he lived. NBC's Chris Pallone has the story.
In Memphis, weeks after the brutal police beating that led to Tyree Nichols' death, family and friends paused to celebrate the 29-year-old's life, remembering a man who was a father to a young son and who loved skateboarding and photography.
A good person, a beautiful soul, a son, a father, a brother, a friend, a human being, gone too soon, denied his rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, denied the dignity of his humanity.
Among those gathered, relatives of other people killed by police across the country, including family members of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and Vice President Kamala Harris.
This violent act was not in pursuit of public safety. It was not in the interest of keeping the public safe, because one must ask, was not it in the interest of keeping the public safe that Tyree Nichols would be with us here today?
Mourners issuing a call to action to put an end to police killings and vowing never to stop fighting until there's true systemic change to law enforcement in America.
I've
believe that babies unborn will know about Tyre Nichols because we won't let his memory die, because we refuse to keep living under the threat of the cops and the robbers.
5 Memphis police officers have been fired and charged with Nichols' murder. 2 others have been taken off the job. With the investigation still underway, officials say more charges are possible.
This is a continuous fight that we have to fight for.
That's right.
We have to fight for justice.
Yeah.
We cannot continue to let these people brutalize our kids.
That's right.
Only thing that's keeping me going is the fact that I really truly believe my son was sent here on an assignment from God.
And while Tyre Nichols' family and friends are fighting for justice, today was a day to pause, to remember, to celebrate, and to say goodbye. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
From our 17 follow-up file now, a standoff in southwest Bakersfield last month ended with the suspect in custody and no one hurt, or so officials thought. 17's Marco Torres spoke with one neighbor who says he was in the crossfire when the bullets started flying.
As bullets flew the night of January 17th on Cibola Drive, a Bakersfield police officer shielded a woman and led her to safety. That's according to police documents obtained by 17 News. Reports say Officer Adrian Rodas used vehicles for protection while moving the woman out of the line of fire as rounds were sprayed from an AR-15 style rifle by Richard Fido. But as bullets flew, the neighborhood took collateral damage. Miguel Covarrubias, who lives across the street, was grazed by one of the bullets that Fido apparently fired.
I worked with my doctor, and he told me, yeah, it's a miracle you don't receive that bullet right here in your eye or right here. If he hit me in my eye or right here, maybe I'm in heaven already.
The memory of the standoff still fresh.
We see the lady with the hands up, and then when she come out, the guy, he start shooting. Then by that time, we go inside the house because, we hear that shooting. Then my wife, she come over here, and then my son says, hey, go on the ground. When she go on the ground, the bullet go through the window. So I was on the ground over there, and then I told my wife, hey, I'm bleeding. But that just scratched my face, like that right here.
His whole family still on edge after the shootout. The visible scars on their homes and vehicles act like a blaring reminder of that night for everyone in the community.
Now we're kind of nervous right now. We hear something and we come, what's going on outside the street,
Do you still feel safe in the area?
Now when I come outside, I'm checking all over the place, because I don't know. But I'm not scared.
Bakersfield Police Department says it put 3 officers on administrative leave with pay during the investigation. Those officers are Sergeant John Rodriguez, Officer Riley Ludick, and Officer Isaac Beltran. Rodriguez has been an officer for BPD for about 24 years, while Ludick and Beltran have been employed with BPD for about 2 years. From Cibola Drive in southwest Bakersfield, Marco Torres, 17 News.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.